Anjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apetya Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajava Putreti tam mayatayo tarabo vinidustam sarvabhutam hridimanatoshmi Bhaktya vihina aparara lakshay Shiptascha karmari tarangamadye Kripa mayitvam sharanam prapana Vrinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram Smarami radham madhurashvitasyam Vadami radham karuna paradram Tato mamanasti katyana kapi. I first of all offer millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So today is an exceptional day again. For the Vaishnavas in the Vaishnava calendar, practically more than half the days are exceptionally auspicious days. But today is an auspicious day. It's the first day of Purushottam Mas today. So Purushottam Mas happens every 2 years, 8 months, 16 days, and 4 dandas. That's how long. So practically 3 years, every 3 years. And the purpose of it is it's like a fill-in month, basically. It's like in English calendar, we have a leap year. In February, we have 1 day sometimes extra to make up, to harmonize between the solar system and the lunar system. So to have these calendars balanced, there's some extra place, and in the entirety they're called Sandhis. So these Sandhis need to be made up of months like this. And originally this month was like a throwaway month. Nobody wanted it. It was called Malecha month. And then that month beseeched Krishna with beautiful prayers, and Krishna says, don't worry, you will become my month. So this is Purushottam Mas. So the smartas, they don't pay much attention to this month, but the Vaishnavas, they pay great attention to this month. And we follow the same dietary principles as we do in Kartik, and the same dietary principles for the rest of Chaturmasya. But the idea is that it's an opportunity to tighten things up. If you want to chant a little bit extra, and you do for this next month, it's very, very auspicious. Any activity you do extra this month is really, really enhanced and multiplied. So it's a most auspicious month for the Vaishnavas. And traditionally, actually, we would all come to Puridam, and because this is Purushottam Ketra, so we would stay here with my Gurudev for a whole month, and we would usually discuss Rai Ramananda Samvad. And this is where many devotees will come, actually, for the month. But we're only staying here for another 2 weeks, but at least we'll get the benefit from the beginning of it. But of course, anywhere on the planet, if we're remembering the glories of Purushottam month, then this is very auspicious for us. So today is the first day of Purushottam Mas, and it's also the Tirabha, the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj is very dear to the Western devotees because of his beautiful writings. He was a very erudite scholar, and he was very well versed in English literature. So he could quote many of the poets, Hegel, etc., many poets from English literature. And his writing is very appealing. It's very soft and gentle, like his personal nature. He described himself as a backward pushing man. He was never running to be in the front, line. But while Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was on the planet, because of his understanding of Shastra, he was so astute with Shastra, and he had such a dispassionate way of presenting it in just a very quiet, beautiful, gentle manner, with so many verses he would have at his command. So he was very appreciative by many, many audiences, because sometimes Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples were very strong externally, and sometimes there was some discord with the audiences in different places. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj would come afterwards and pacify everybody by his polite manner, and then bringing everything to the truest conceptions. He understood Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's gift to this world, and he spoke very eloquently. He was very dear to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, so much so that when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was actually leaving this planet, he'd been bedridden for some time, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and he asked Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to sing this beautiful Shri Rupa Manjari song. And but there were other more proficient kirtaniyas in the room at the time. And Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj was saying, oh, this person can sing it much better than me. And Srila Bhakti Saraswati said, no, I want you. I want from your heart to hear this bhajan. So it's not always about the expert artistry or proficiency in bhajan. It's about the depth of the heart of the person's comprehension of what they're singing. So he sang that very beautifully for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But he wrote many beautiful Sanskrit bhajans. This one we sing every morning. What's that? Deva. I've forgotten the song. What's that song? No. The one glorifying Srila Bhakti. I'm just trying to think of the first line of it, but I can't think of the first line. Anyway, the devotees will know. I'm sure, because we sing it every single day in the Mass. Every single morning we sing this song before we sing the Mangalati. If anybody on the line, Gora, wants to send in, they can share with me. Look on our Jaiva Dharma thread, and somebody may be able to just send the I think I've got it actually. No, I haven't got it. I can't remember where it is. But this is a very beautiful Sanskrit bhajan glorifying Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Oh, this is very unfortunate that I haven't got it here. I really apologize for this. I hope somebody's... Varsha, if Varsha is there, she should tell me straight away. Is anyone there today? Just when I want these people, they're not there. Yes, Sujana Buddha. That's it. Who's telling you that?
Someone commented.
Okay, yes. Sujana Radhita. Sujana Buddha Radhita. 260. Huh?
Arendu Prabhu mentioned in the comment.
Good. Thank you. Yes, I should have looked at this before. This is the Prabhupada Padma Stavaka. And every morning in our mutt, because he wrote this in glorification of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati loved this bhajan. Sujana Buddharadi Dapada Yugam Yugadharma Durandra Patra Varam Paradenbraya Dayaka Puja Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. I'm just going to read the first verse, English translation, because it's so beautiful. His 2 lotus feet are worshipped by an unlimited number of saintly persons, and he is the most competent personality to lead the process of realization for this age, Nam Sankirtan. His adorable lotus feet grant all kinds of benedictions and fearlessness. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So, but he wrote many other, this Deva Dharma Stotra he also wrote, which is the whole pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many beautiful writings he gave us. Sri Guru and His Grace he gave us in English. What is it? Reality the Beautiful. And the Guardian series. So many books he gifted to the English devotees through his eloquence and careful, thoughtful moods of devotion. So he was very much dearly beloved of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who took his association in Allahabad, where he lived for a while. And so many glories of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, especially for the Western devotees, because he gifted us such a wealth of books, of writings, very, very beautiful. If you haven't read his books, then today you should go online and at least start to read one of his books. And then Sri Guru and His Grace is a very good place to start. And touch with his kripa. Because today, as we've said many times, when it's one of these personalities, Abhirbhav or Tirabhav, then their kripa will descend into this world for sure. So I'm not going to spend a long time glorifying him, because I want to get on to our topic today. We're into a new chapter today of Shakti Tattva. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj Ki Jai. He was one of the most stalwart followers of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. In his previous work, he was a lawyer, and he was just a very potent personality, much loved by all the devotees. All the devotees revered him with great gravity. He was a very sober person, very wonderful personality. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj Ki Jai. So now we'll come to our Jaivadharma topic. And I think we're into the first 6? Last 5. So on page 831, the last 4 verses. So I hope you're all appreciating this Falshruti as much as I am. I'm finding that just by regularly reading it daily, then so much reciprocation is coming from the text for me to appreciate this whole Jaivadharma and its consistency and context. Jaivadharma patishe shura bhakti hoy, Jaivadharma na patile kave bhakti noy. One who reads Jaivadharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaivadharma can never attain Bhakti. How amazing. If you don't read this book, because I've just said before, this book contains all the Veda. It contains all the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's all in sutra, because it's the condensed instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This book is the condensed instructions and gifts, teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupanuga Abhiman Patitrita Hoy, Jaivadharma Vimukake Dharma Hinekhoy. Faithfully reading Jaivadharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaivadharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. How interesting that he has to say practically the same thing again. Why? Because people don't listen today. They're not hearing. They're not like paying attention. They're not focusing because the environment is so distracting. The food is distracting, the air is distracting, the sound vibrations are distracting, telephones are distracting, mobiles distracting. There's so many influences distracting our minds from focus. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is aware this is going to be. So he repeats again and again and again and again. Same message, give up all dharmas. If you're averse to reading Jaiva Dharma, then you can't attain bhakti. Then he's saying you'll be devoid of religious principles if you don't read Jaiva Dharma. What's the difference? It's the same thing, but he's saying it twice. Java jivane je pade Jaiva Dharma, bhakti man se jana brita jnana karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of jnana and karma. Almost saying exactly the same thing again. How important is it? Because this represents the entire Veda. This Dasamula that we're scrolling through at the moment, it's the ontology of all the 9 pramayas in existence, and it's giving the praman at the beginning, the evidence to establish all of this. So everything's there. Nothing is omitted. Krishna Ramala Seva Labi Senara Seva Sukhi Magnaraha Sada Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service. This is the prayojan. This is the goal. And this can be achieved by absorption in this Jaiva Dharma. So now we've reached chapter 14, we're beginning today. But of course, we must recap to chapter 13 and just appreciate where we're up to in the verses. So this Amnaya Praha. So what is the evidence that we're going to base this truth on is the Vedic scriptures, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is our evidence for everything here. And now we've already covered the first prameya, Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam. And we concluded that on Saturday by going through all the different qualities of Krishna, the 50 qualities, and then the 55 extra, and then the 60 of Lord Narayan, and then the 64 of Brajendranandan Shamsundra. That Prem Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Rup Madhuri. These 4 Madhuris that only Brajendranandan Maharaj. So this is establishing Krishna as that Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is this verse, Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam. That's what we've just covered here in this chapter. Now, in the next chapter, we're going to cover 2 pramayas also. We're going to cover Sarva Shaktim, that Krishna is the repository of all Shakti, coming from his Swarup Shakti, and Rasabdim. He is that Akila Rasamrita Sindhu. So these 2 pramayas will be in this 14th chapter that we're going to do now. So now we'll come into our 14th chapter. This 14th chapter is quite dense. If it's possible for you, you will find it very helpful to go into my website, www.bvtridandi.com, and under maps and diagrams, you will see a Paratattva map in the maps and diagrams. There's a Paratattva map, and we'll show it to you briefly on the screen. But then if you have it yourselves, and I would really super encourage you to print it out. It's called Advaya Gyan Paratattva, or it's in maps and diagrams. Paratattva. You find it? Paratattva, maps and diagrams. Show it on the screen so that they can get an idea. But this is describing the energies, Krishna's energies, but they won't see it sideways. You'll have to hold it that way. Set it back a little bit. Yeah. Can they see it? So this diagram is on my website, and it's really, really helpful. It'll give you some support in understanding this quite intense tattva that we're going to go through. This is exactly what is going to be described. So see that and then look on your computers or whatever and find that diagram. It's really helpful. So chapter 14, Prameya, Shakti Tattva. The Venerable Babaji's teachings from the previous night made a deep impression upon Brajanath. And as he contemplated all those instructions, he felt satisfied. So this is the nature of transcendental knowledge, that a certain sense of satisfaction comes in the heart with the revelation of various transcendental truths. When these transcendental truths are appreciated by our consciousnesses, then a great happiness and satisfaction will come. These truths we will take into our next births. They will create an impression because they're eternal truths. So if you've absorbed this truth nicely, you'll feel great satisfaction from that. Sometimes he thought, oh, how extraordinary and unparalleled are Sri Gauranga's teachings. Just hearing them, I feel as if thrust within the waves of an ocean of nectar. So again, appreciating that all of these teachings are the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is why this glorious personality, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, has actually composed this book. He's taken all of the principal teachings from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's given them all in this Jaiva Dharma, in a very concise, methodical, step-by-step way. And it's not that we should, for a moment, neglect Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, but we should assimilate this simultaneously as these other scriptures. And the more I hear, the more thirsty and eager I become to hear. It appears that the condensed nectar of all tattvas streams from Babaji Maharaj's lotus mouth, and my heart never becomes satiated by hearing. All his teachings on Siddhanta are perfectly balanced, without a trace of inconsistency. So that is what I've tried to share. I'm referencing so many times previous chapters and the consistency throughout, and trying to piece all of the profound Siddhantas and Tattvas that he's giving to us to complete one whole total picture, how the jiva can attain this prem amal seva, this seva to the divine couple. This is where it's all guiding us to, leading us to. It is as if the Shastras are all running after those conclusions to verify every letter of them. I can't understand why the Brahmana society criticizes these teachings. Yes, why should the Brahmanas? Because they haven't been brought up with them. They're not the traditional teachings. Mahaprabhu is described as the most non-conventional or unconventional preacher ever to be in this world. He was just walking around with his arms in the air, weeping, crying tears, calling to chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. He was distributing prem directly. So this is completely unconventional. So these Brahmanas are still stuck in a conventional, traditional mindset. So they have their traditional way of income, etc., that they have crafted from their trade of teaching and preaching the Brahminical conceptions. And they become attached to that. So they're not ready to give that up, which is what Mahaprabhu was encouraging. Naham vipro nacha nalapati vaishnava shudra, naham vani nacha graha nam brashetava. Kinto pradyam nikila paramanda puramritata gopipatu kamalayat dasanudas. That I am not a Brahman, I am not a Kshatriya, etc. I am not a sannyasi or a brahmachari or a vanaprast. I am an eternal servant of the servant of the servant of that Lord of the gopis, or the gopis' master. I think that their bias towards Mayavad has made them adopt a false philosophy. Mayavad, we've understood now, it means anything you want to enjoy from this material world. Your mother, your father, your house, your job, your environment, your car, anything you want to enjoy in this material world, which is an illusory world, but we become attached to it. And that is called a Mayavad, that we have faith in the Mayic world around us more than in the transcendental realm. When we start to put one foot into that transcendental world, then the things of this world become most insignificant, and we can easily walk away from them. But we need that creeper to bring us into that transcendental state of consciousness. Rajanath was thinking in this way as he reached Raghunath Das Babaji's kutia. First, he offered obeisances to the kutia, and then seeing Babaji Mahashai, he offered obeisances to him. So he's respecting all the objects of Raghunath Das Babaji, his kutia. He's offering obeisances to the kutia. This is signifying his deep respect to the kutia where Raghunath Das is staying, as well as Raghunath Das Babaji himself. Babaji Mahashai lovingly embraced him and made him sit beside him. Sitting down with great enthusiasm, Brajanath asked, Prabhu, you told me yesterday that you would explain the third shloka of Das Mula. I earnestly desire to hear it. Kindly be merciful and explain it to me. Babaji became very happy to hear this, and with his hairs standing on end in rapture, began to speak.
Prakhyaya shaktir aprithagapi saeve mahimani sthito jivakhyam swam achit abhihitam tam tripadikam स्वतंत्रेच्छा शक्तिम सकल विषय प्रेरणा परो विकाराध्यै सुनये परम पुरुषो यम विजयस्ते.
So this is Das Mula number 3. Although Sri Bhagavan is non-different from his inconceivable transcendental potency, Parashakti, he has his own independent nature and desires. He's independent. Always Krishna, like you, are independent. And we cherish our independence. Why don't we accept Krishna's independent will also? Krishna is not bound to do anything. He's independent, as we are. He has his own independent nature and desires. His Parashakti consists of 3 aspects: Chit Shakti, spiritual potency; Jiva Shakti, marginal potency; and Maya Shakti, external potency. And he always inspires them to engage in their respective functions. That Paratattva, supreme absolute truth, even while performing all these activities, still remains immutable and eternally situated in the fully transcendental swarup of his own glory. So this is totally, again, as we've said so many times, achintya. We can't, with our tiny little material conditioned brains, understand that Krishna is performing all this remarkable, energetic manifestations. At the same time, he's in his swarup in Vrindavan with Sri Radhika and the gopis. Rajanath, the Brahmins declare that the Brahm form of Paratattva has no Shakti, and they say that his Shakti is only manifest in his Ishvara form. I would like to hear the conclusions of the Vedas about this. So understand the question, he's talking about Brahm. they say that the Brahmanas declare that Brahm doesn't have Shakti. And it's true. Brahm doesn't have Shakti. But Brahm is not the complete form of Bhagavan. We have Brahm, Paramatma, and then we have Bhagavan. The Shakti of Paratattva manifests in all of his forms. The Vedas say,
न तस्य कार्यं करणं च विद्यते न तत्समश्चाभ्याधिकश्च दृश्यते परास्य शक्तिर्विविधैव श्रूयते स्वाभाविकी ज्ञानबलक्रिया च
Svetashvarata Upanishad
Upanishad
6.7.
6.78.
None of the activities of that Parabrahm, Paramatma, is mundane, because none of his senses, such as his hands and legs, is material. Thus, through the medium of his transcendental body, he performs his pastimes without any material senses. We can't understand that, so we have to own up to not understanding it and wait for his kripa to appreciate it and honor it and worship it. We can't understand it, so we should worship it. And he is present everywhere at the same time. Therefore, no one is even equal to him. What to speak of being greater than him? The one divine potency of Parameshwara has been described in Shruti in many ways, among which the description of his Gyan Shakti knowledge and his Bal Shakti power and his Kriya Shakti potency for activity are most important. These are also called Chit Shakti or Sangvit Shakti, Sat Shakti or Sandini Shakti, and Anand Shakti or Hladini Shakti, respectively. So each of these names, each of these potencies has two names, but they're completely similar. There's no difference. There's no distinction between Chit Shakti and Sangvit Shakti. It's the same. Don't get confused about it. And then the same with Sat Shakti and Sandini. The Sat and the Sandini is the same. And Anand and Hladini Shakti are the same. They're the same. They just have different names. Just like Krishna has different names. Govinda, Hari, Bhagavan, all different names. So these Shaktis also have different names. Regarding a description of the Chit Shakti, it is said,
ते ध्यान योगानुगता अपश्यन् देवात्मा शक्तिं स्वगुणैर्निगुणाम् यः कारणानि निखिलानि तानि कालात्मयुक्तानि य अधितिष्ठति एकः श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद 1.3.
the Tattva Gyan Rishis establish themselves in Samadhi Yoga, and being infused with the qualities of Parabrahm, through those qualities they have directly perceived his most confidential, internal, transcendental potencies. Thus they have realized Bhagavan, who is the basis and governor of all causes of the jiva, of prakriti, material nature, of kala, time, and of karma. This is the same as what Vedavyas saw in his trance. Vedavyas saw this trance described, the actual trance is described in the 7th chapter of the 1st canto, was gifted by Narad to actually see fully who is that supreme Bhagavan, what is his qualities, what is his nature, what is his Madhurya. So this trance was gifted by Narad to Vyasadeva. Regarding Jiva Shakti,
अजाम एकाम लोहित शुक्ल कृष्णा बहवी प्रजा सजमानाम स्वरूपा अजो ही एको जुष्माणो नुष्यते जहाति एनाम भुक्ता भोगाम अजोन्यः श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद 4.5.
there are two types of unborn Aja Jivas. Jivas of the first type are Agyani, ignorant, and worship Bhagavan's Prakriti. That Prakriti, whose modes are red, white, and black, is also unborn like Bhagavan. However, the second type of Aja are Gyanis, They have overcome ignorance and therefore completely renounce that prakriti which the others strive to enjoy. Understand? This is Jiva Shakti. Now, regarding Maya Shakti, we'll go through all of these tattvas gradually. Actually, many times a question might arise while we're reading this Jaiva Dharma, and it seems almost miraculous, but within the next paragraph or two, that question will be answered. So we must read this with patience. If there's any particular question that arises, I will try to explain as much as I'm understanding as we go along, but many clarifications will be given in the text itself as we go through. So now regarding Maya Shakti.
Chandansi yagyaha kratvo vratani bhutam bhavyam yaccha veda vadanti asman mayi srijate vishvam etat tasmin chanyo mayaya saniruddhaha. Shvetashvatar Upanishad 4.9.
Paramatma, who is the master of Maya Prakriti, the deluding material nature, has created all the teachings of the Vedas, special yajnas such as Jyotishmo that are performed with ghee, various types of vrat, fasts, sacrifices, penances, and everything else in existence in the past, present, and the future. That is, the entire world whose description is found in the Vedas. The Ishvara of Maya has created all of this, and the Ajya Jivas are bound by his Maya. So this is the verse describing the manifestation from Paramatma of all of these objects in this material world. Everything that we understand in the material world was manifested by the Shaktis, this Maya Shakti of Bhagavan himself. Not Bhagavan is directly doing it, it's Shakti that is doing it. The Vedic mantra, Parisyasya Shaktiya, Svetashvarta Upanishad 678, quoted on page 308, explains that there is transcendental Shakti in even the highest stage of the Paratattva. The personal appearance of that Paratattva is called Bhagavan, and the Nirvishesh manifestation is called Brahm. Quite distinct. Bhagavan is that personal form, Sa Vishesh, and Brahm is Nirvishesh, without form, Nirvishesh. Nowhere in the Vedas is the Paratattva described as being without Shakti. So it's Nirvishesh without, or it's with, but it's with Shakti. What is called Brahm is a manifestation of Paratattva, and this Nirvishesh Brahm is also manifested by Parashakti. Therefore, there is transcendental potency in Nirgun Nirvishesh Brahm as well. It's an eternal place. This is where we are actually manifesting from. It's filled with Shantaras, neutrality. It has Shakti, it has potency there. In some places in the Vedas and the Upanishads, this Parashakti is called Swarup Shakti. In others, Chit Shakti. And elsewhere, it has been called Antaranga Shakti. These are all synonymous, all synonyms of the same meaning. Swarup Shakti, Chit Shakti, Antaranga Shakti. All three are the same. Don't become confused. Actually, there is no such vastu as Brahm without Shakti. A vastu is an all-abiding substance. It can't change. Three vastus, Krishna, Jiva, and Maya. This was discussed in the very first chapter here. So this is an all-abiding substance. It can't, like an element, it can't be broken down into anything else. So actually there is no such vastu as Brahm without Shakti. So Shakti must be manifesting to some portion in the Brahm. This is what we will find out. It is simply an imagination of the Mayavadis. Actually, there is no such vastu as Brahm without Shakti. It is simply an imagination of the Mayavadis to think that there's no Shakti in Brahm, that there is nothing in Brahm, that it's just completely empty. It's not empty. It's Krishna's effulgence. So it has Shakti. In reality, the Nirvishesh Brahm is beyond the limited conception of Mayavad. The Savishesh Brahm has been described as follows in the Vedas.
यः एको वर्णो बहुधा शक्ति योगात् वर्णान् अनेकान् निथार्थो दधाति श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद 4.1
Although he has one color, he assumes several colors, bhavs, by dint of his personal Shakti. Many colors, that is, various types of potency, exist within him. Indeed, the whole world has its being in him, for he is its creator. Beautiful.
यः एको जालावान् ईशात् ईशानिभिः सर्वान् लोकान् ईशत् ईशानिभिः श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद 3.1
He who is the Ishvara of the whole world is one without a second, and he is the Lord of Maya, which is like a net in which the jivas are ensnared. He regulates the entire world by his Aisha Shakti. Now, see how the Shaktis of Paratattva is never absent from him. Paratattva is always self-illuminated and self-manifesting. The Vedic mantras describe the three types of Shakti of that self-manifested tattva as follows. This is all emphasizing that it's not Bhagavan himself that is manifesting, it's his Swarup Shakti. Ultimately, it's all Sri Radhika who is performing all of this creation, all of this energetic infusion into the world, this creation, ultimately is coming from Swarup Shakti. And Swarup Shakti is manifesting from Krishna.
सविश्वकृत विश्वदात्मा योनिर्ज्ञः कालकालो गुणी सर्वविद यः प्रधान क्षेत्रज्ञ पतिर्गुणेशः संसार मोक्ष स्थिति बंधेतु श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद 6.116
That Paramatma is omniscient and the creator of the world. He is self-born, Atmayoni, the controller of Kala, time, the knower of all, the Ishvara of Pradhan, Maya, and the Ishvara of Ketra Gyans, Jivas. He is full of all transcendental qualities and beyond all material qualities, yet he is their master. He binds the jiva in samsara, places them in their positions, and liberates them from it. So this is Paramatma, is being described as this. We understand that Paramatma, of course, is a manifestation from Bhagavan. So it's not Bhagavan that is doing this, it's Paramatma that is doing this. This mantra describes the three states of Parashakti. The word Pradhan denotes Maya Shakti. The word Ketragyan denotes the Jiva Shakti, and the Chit Shakti has been alluded to by the word Ketrapati. The Mayavadis explain that Brahm is the condition of Paratattva without Shakti. You see, the Mayavadis don't acknowledge the supreme controller. This is their defect. And that Ishvara is of this state with all Shakti. But this doctrine is simply imaginary. In reality, Bhagavan always possesses all Shakti. Shakti is present in all of his aspects. He is eternally situated in his Swarup. And although he has all Shakti in that Swarup, he himself remains the Supreme Person, full of his own independent will. This is a very beautiful description of the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. It's like a picture. Actually, we could do a diagram of this. A picture of the Supreme Lord, and he's the master of everything. At the same time, he's not doing everything. It's his Shakti that is performing all these tasks. Like it's not Lord Brahma who's making the creation. He's doing that creation with the energy of Krishna. And we also, in our bhajan, in our progress, are going to move forward by the energy of Krishna. Everything will be moved by his energy. We're not separate from that. Rajanath, if he is fully associated with Shakti, he only works with the assistance of Shakti. Then where is his independent nature and desire? Beautiful question. Where is his desire? Where is his independent nature? If Shakti is doing everything, then where does he come in? It'll be explained. Shakti, Shakti Matayo Abed. Babaji is saying, according to this statement in Vedanta, Shakti potency and the Shaktiman Purush, supreme person who possesses all Shakti, are non-different. Work shows the influence of Shakti. That is, all work is accomplished only by the means of Shakti. We've already said that. It's quite simple. Tell me if there's something that's, you can't follow, because other people probably can't follow it too, and I can explain it something. However, the desire to do work is an indication of Shaktiman. So it's Krishna who inspires the desire, and then it's Sri Radhika who actually will enables us to fulfill that desire to work, to activate. There's an expression that man desires and Krishna, what is it? Man proposes, God disposes. Yes, so we are proposing, we are desiring, and then it is God that is actually fulfilling. But in this case, it's Krishna is instigating the hearts with the desires, and because of those desires, then Shakti will fulfill them. You understand? However, the desire to do work is an indication of Shaktiman. The mundane material world is the work of Maya Shakti. All the jivas are the work of Jiva Shakti, and the Chid Jagat, spiritual world, is the work of Chit Shakti. Bhagavan inspires the Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti to be engaged in their respective activities. He's inspiring these Shaktis to perform their functions. It's coming from Shakti Matayo. It's coming from Krishna. But he himself is still nirvikar, unattached and unaffected. Beautiful. This is the Siddhanta. This is the truth. These Siddhantas will resonate through many other appreciations that we're having of realizations of various aspects in the philosophy. That it's not Krishna, it's his Shaktis that are manifesting the energy in this world. So when we're doing our bhajan, chanting, etc., we can appreciate this point more clearly. Rajanath, how can he remain nirvikar when he works according to his independent desire? Indeed, to be possessed of independent desire, swa-ichamayi, means that he experiences vikar, transformation. He's thinking that he's going to make transformation. Babaji, nirvikar means to be free from any material transformations, mayik vikar. Maya is the shadow of Swarup Shakti. That's Mahamaya, is that shadow. Yogamaya acts completely as Swarup Shakti, in fact. The work of Maya is reality, but it is not an eternal reality. Thus, the defect of Maya is not present in the Paratattva. The vikar that is present in Sri Hari in the form of his desire and pastimes is nothing but the highest manifestation of prem. Krishna is only immersed in prem, and then it's trickling down from there into this material conception. Such wonderful manifestations of transcendental variegatedness are present in Advaya Gyan, Bhagavan. In spite of creating the material world by his desire through his Maya Shakti, this Chit nature remains in eternal, unbroken existence. So the Chit nature is eternal, but the Maya Shakti is not. Maya has no connection with the astonishing variegated Leela of Bhagavan in the spiritual world. Maya is not there. Yoga Maya is there, but not this Mahamaya. However, jivas whose intelligence has been rendered dull by the influence of Maya think that the wonderful variegatedness of the spiritual world is just another affair of Maya. Who would think that? Some real dull person would think that. And then we fell from the spiritual world. If you're thinking that Maya can enter the spiritual world, Maya has no step into the spiritual world. So how can someone fall from the spiritual world? How can someone become covered by Maya if Maya doesn't exist in the spiritual world? Isn't that what it's saying?
Yes.
Very loud and clear. One who suffers from jaundice sees everything as yellow, and one whose eyes are covered by clouds perceives the sun also to be covered by clouds. Similarly, those with Mayic intelligence imagine that transcendental names, forms, qualities, and pastimes are also Mayic, because they're only aware of Maya. So they're thinking that means they're covered by their conditioned consciousness, their conditioned vision. They're smearing their conditioned vision over Krishna's transcendence. You understand? They're putting their material, it's just like, again, like the frog in the well. He's trying to put his material ability, is it 1 times as big as my well? Is it 2 times, etc.? He's trying to relate it to his own consciousness. But it's beyond our consciousness. That requires humility, you see? This is what is the defect of the conditioned soul? It's pride and envy. These 2 things. This pride is covering his ability to appreciate transcendence. He's trying to put it all into his own material cognizance, what he can comprehend, what he can understand. And then he can think, oh yes, that's correct. But actually that's just a covering. Maya has no connection with the astonishing variegated leader of Bhagavan in the spiritual world. However, jivas whose intelligence has been rendered dull by the influence of Maya think that the wonderful variegatedness of the spiritual world is just another affair of Maya. One who suffers from jaundice sees everything as yellow, and one whose eyes are covered by clouds perceives the sun also to be covered by clouds. Similarly, those with Mayic intelligence imagine the transcendental names, forms, qualities, and pastimes are also Mayic. The purport is that Maya Shakti is a shadow of Chit Shakti. So the variegatedness found in spiritual activities is also reflected in the workings of Maya. We often call this a perverted reflection. This material world is a perverted. Why we say perverted? Because it's upside down. Actually, if you look in the mirror, everything that is on the right here is on the left there. So everything is perverted. But the perversion of this material world is that I think I am the center. But in the spiritual world, Krishna is the center. This is the huge distinction. And once we fully absorb that mentality with our practices and our attraction to Krishna and replace the conditioned I with Krishna in service, then we are, for all purposes, in the spiritual world, even though we may be residing in this world. We are in the spiritual world once we have placed Krishna as the complete focus of our attention and taken this extraordinary, all-consuming I out of the equation. It's this I which is making it all conditioned. But as soon as the I becomes purified and Krishna gets established by seva, because the activity of the soul is only seva to Krishna, there has to be activity. If there's no activity, it's like in the Brahman. It's like just neutrality again. But the soul, there has to be because there's beyond liberation, so to speak, or the muktivad. He's free, but he hasn't activated his soul. The activation is the seva to Krishna. That's going to cement the truth in the mind, in the heart, that yes, Krishna is that delightful person that I want to serve, not myself and my material senses and my struggle to try to make myself materially happy and materially satisfied. If I keep focusing there, then this is completely Maya. I'm totally immersed in the material conception. The variegatedness seen in Maya Shakti is an inferior reflection or shadow of the variegatedness found in Chit Shakti. So although these two types of variegatedness are apparently similar to each other, they are actually completely opposite. Completely opposite, this Mayic world and the spiritual world. Superficially, a person's reflection in a mirror appears the same as the body. However, with careful examination, they are seen to be exactly the opposite. For one is the body, and the other is its reflection. So the reflection is not the same as the source, the object. The body's various parts appear opposite in their reflection. The left hand appears on the right side, and the right hand on the left. The left eye appears on the right side, and the right eye on the left. Similarly, the variegatedness of the spiritual world and that of the material world appears superficially the same. From a subtle point of view, however, they are opposed to each other, for material variegatedness is a distorted reflection of transcendental variegatedness. Therefore, although there is some apparent similarity, they are nonetheless different in essence. So I think that's quite clear. That's not so difficult to appreciate. That independent Supreme Person who works by his own sweet will is the controller of Maya. He is free from any Mayic transformation, and through Maya, he fulfills his purposes. Rajanath, which of Sri Krishna's Shaktis is Srimati Radhika? Rajanath, as Sri Krishna is the complete Shaktiman Tattva, Srimati Radhika is his complete Shakti. She can be called the complete Swarup Shakti, so that they enact and relish their Leela. Srimati Radhika and Krishna are eternally separate, but they are eternally inseparable, just as musk and its scent are mutually inseparable, and fire and its heat cannot be separate from each other. The Swarup Shakti, Srimati Radhika, has three kinds of potency of activity. Kriya Shakti. They are known as Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. The Chit Shakti is also called the internal potency, Antaranga Shakti. The Maya Shakti is called the external potency, Bahiranga Shakti, and the Jiva Shakti is called the marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti. Although Swarup Shakti is one, she acts in these three ways. All the eternal characteristics of Swarup Shakti are completely present in the Chit Shakti, present to a minute degree in the Jiva Shakti, and present in a distorted way in the Maya Shakti. So I'm actually going to stop here because this is quite intense, and I'm going to read this again tomorrow, just to appreciate these three Shaktis are the representations of manifesting from Sri Radhika. Shri Krishna is the Shakti Matayor, the Shaktiman, and Sri Radhika is the Shakti. And they are like one, but they are different also, just like musk and its smell are two aspects, or like heat and fire are one, and yet they're different. You can you can utilize the heat separate from the fire. Like when you're boiling something, you don't have to put it in the fire. You can hold it above the fire to get the heat from the fire. So the heat and the fire are like one, but they are two at the same time. So heat, musk and its scent are like, so Krishna and Radhika are like that. They are one, but at the same time, Krishna is like the sun and Radhika is like the heat, the energy, the Shakti from the sun. The sun is the Shakti Matayor, the Shakti Man, and the heat is the Shakti, the energy that comes from the sun. Coming from the sun is the heat. So that's the energy, that's the Shakti. So that is Sri Radhika.
Also, we cannot separate them from each other.
No, they cannot be separate from each other. For example, if the sun suddenly stops shining, then the heat will immediately stop also. If the fire goes out, the heat stops. If the musk is not there, then the scent is not there. So you can't separate them. They can't be separated, yet they're different. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
To appreciate.
Yes.
There's variety, there's variegatedness there. They're distinct. At the same time, they are one. So tomorrow, we'll just reach this verse, Das Mula 4. Apart from the three kinds of Kriya Shakti, potency of activity. So potency of activity, three Shaktis, Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Jiva Shakti. This is what the activity potency creates. That's coming from Swarup Shakti. Don't become bewildered by these various terminologies. There's only about, today we probably talked about 7 or 8 or 9 different terms. And we just simply have to become familiar with these terminologies. Otherwise, we will become bewildered. Know what each terminology means. It's Kriya Shakti, potency for activity. Apart from the three kinds of Kriya Shakti, potency of activities that I have described, Swarup Shakti also has 3 other types of function, named Hladini, Sandini, and Sangvit. So these are 3 different, they're called functions here. These functions are not the same as the Shakti. Sandini is the function of existence, and Sangvit is the function of knowledge or cognizance, and Hladini is the function of bliss.
Yes.
It's like a function. It's different from the Shakti. So try to realize, if you look at the map that I've suggested right at the very beginning, it's very, very clear from the map. If you take the time to examine that and look at it, you'll find it very helpful. They are described in the verse of the Dashmula. So now actually, we're coming in to the Rasa Tattva section of this chapter. It's going to complete the Shakti Tattva, and then it's going to come into the Rasa Tattva. So we'll stop here today. I know this is a little bit intense, and it doesn't just drop off the page. You have to be attentive, you have to be awake to actually catch this. But once you catch it, once you make just a small effort in this regard to try and absorb and assimilate it, once we get over our natural laziness to want to work, then once I do a little bit of work on this, very quickly it becomes very, very simple, so that you can explain it to a child. And if you look at the map, it looks like a child could actually follow that very clearly. You have the 3 distinct going Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti in a line. And then at the top, you have the Sat, Chit, Ananda, the Sandini, Sangvit, and Hladini. You have these 3 energies, or functions they're called. That's all. So try to become familiar with the terminologies, and we'll get something from it. Because without understanding this Shakti Tattva, we can't really appreciate the next chapters, which are about Jiva Tattva, which is Jiva bound by Maya, Jiva liberated from Maya, and Jiva Tattva himself, Vibhinamsa Tattva. So we have to understand this Shakti Tattva to the best of our ability. It takes a little bit of application, and then great rewards and joy can come. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj ki jai, Purushottam Mas ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gop Premanandi, Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vevacha, Patitanam Papanibhyo, Vaishnave Bhyo Namaha, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.